you clicked on this video, you're probably leased on somewhere, thinking about getting your authority, weighing your options. So what's better, to lease onto a carrier, offload some of the paperwork, or go out on your own and get your own DOT and MC authority? Well, I've had my authority for between 6 and 12 months now. I think I'm probably around month 8. Whatever you have pictured in your head, that's not as bad. First 6 to 12 months is worse. But leasing on is also not as bad as most people think. If you're looking at a 35% figure, or you're looking at 65% that you keep, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta calculate what they're actually keeping. None of them are keeping 35%. So if somebody tells you Landstar, Bennett, Schneider keeps 35%, that's wrong. That 35%, if you're using their trailer, which at that percentage, at any of those carriers, you're using their trailer. So that includes a trailer rental fee, or what you'd be paying to get your own trailer. That fee also, that percentage also includes liability insurance. Some of the smaller carriers will, they can give you they can take a smaller percentage out, but a lot of those, if you're getting like a 90%, 10% deal, odds are, there's no way they can be profitable unless they're passing the liability insurance cost on to you. So you're probably paying the liability cost at a 90-10 deal. And on a 35-65 deal, that includes their trailer, it includes the liability, it includes factoring. At a lot of them, it includes dispatch. So factoring, if you want to look at those percentages, or quick pay, it's going to be somewhere between 2 and 5%. If you're looking at a dispatch service, the ones I've talked to, I haven't done any research because I'm not interested in a dispatcher, but those are running between 3 and I've been quoted over 6%. One of them quoted me 6.5% when I was talking to him. So when you add all of those in to the equation, plus factor in, you're getting a bulk discount on tires, fuel, stuff like that. The actual percentage that they're taking is much less. And the best way to think about it is you're outsourcing administrative paperwork, you're outsourcing regulatory, like compliance type issues and stuff like that. So figure up what a true percentage is for wherever you're at. And then for me at Landstar, with my own trailer, it was roughly 17%. And I think it actually could have been a little less, probably closer to 15%. But let's just say 17% for argument's sake. So if you take that 17%, multiply it by whatever total gross revenue your truck's doing for the year, and you'll come up with some figure. And then ask yourself, well, for doing a little bit of extra paperwork, would I rather have that dollar amount in my pocket? That's really the best way to look at it. And there's other benefits and there's other drawbacks. Like if you're leased onto a carrier and you're getting $7-8 a mile for freight, that's probably their direct customer. So if you go out and get your authority, you're probably not going to be able to haul that same freight. You can eventually haul good paying freight, but unless you have contacts in the industry and you're coming out and just working the spot market, calling off of load boards and stuff, which is that's mostly what I've been doing. You're not going to get $6, $7, $8 a mile on every single load. Depending on the trailer. If you have a specialized trailer, then I'm sure you could, get some better rates. But I would consider all those things before deciding. The insurance is a big difference when you have your authority. I've said in another video, my insurance is just under 24 grand a year. I'm with Progressive. I'm shopping around for insurance right now. Even if I stay with Progressive, I'm expecting that number to go down pretty significantly going into year 2. Another difference is if your carrier's getting your base plates for you, like Landstar would finance the base plates and you'd pay them back over time. They weren't making any money off of it. But like my base plates in Texas, I believe I paid $1,800. I mean, you just got to pay that in one lump sum. The insurance, I've heard some people say that they had to pay like somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000 up front just to activate an insurance policy. That was not my experience with Progressive. I paid like just 1 month down and that started the policy. So I paid just under $2 grand and the insurance was active. I'm trying to think about what else. So hazmat kind of goes in with the direct freight. If you're at a carrier that has good paying hazmat freight, Landstar has good paying hazmat freight. Or they did when I was there. I was with Landstar 6 years, and a lot of the loads I hauled were hazmat loads, both with a dry van and with a step deck. I'm not a hazmat carrier. The minimum policy for hazmat, you have to have a $5 million liability policy. So, and the cost on those is just, it's not worth it with a single truck. So really the best way to look at it is the authority is a fourth revenue stream, or it's a fourth source of income. If you think about going from a company driver to buying a truck, as a company driver, you're getting paid probably a rate per mile to drive. You're getting paid as the driver. When you buy a truck and you're driving the truck, you're getting paid as the driver, and your truck as an asset is making money as well. If you have your own trailer, then you're getting paid as a driver, the truck is making money, and your trailer's making money as an asset. And so the authority is basically just the fourth piece of that puzzle, and it's the paperwork, regulatory, administrative piece of that puzzle. So, you know, if you'd like to add that fourth revenue stream in, then you got to be willing to do some paperwork. So I'm going to do a series of videos. I'll try to squeeze it into as few videos as possible, but I don't want it to get too long. And I've already done broad overview videos covering a lot of stuff. I did a safety audit video. You can check that out. I go over some of the DQ files and just what's involved in a safety audit. I've done IFTA videos you can check out. I did New York Hut, New Mexico, Kentucky, Connecticut. I didn't do Oregon because I don't do Oregon. I just do that on a kind of a per trip basis if I need to. So you can take a look at those, and I can tell you from IFTA, the IFTA video, it was about 20 minutes long, but that also included me talking to the camera, explaining things. I just did IFTA for the third time filing my quarterly report. It took me less than 10 minutes. So these, and the Kentucky, New York, New Mexico, and Connecticut, those were like less than 3 minutes a piece. Like once you've got these things bookmarked, you know exactly the website to go to, you know exactly the button to click on, and you know where to get the information. I mean, they really don't take any time at all. So the money issue, that's one thing I would caution you against thinking you don't need it. Now, if you're going to factor, that's a different story. You know, if you're going to factor or use the quick pay, you're going to give up a certain percentage in exchange for getting that money quicker. And it's a really high interest rate on annualized. You know, if you annualize 3%, because you're only getting the money like 30 to 35 days early. Most of the time, I'm getting paid within 35 days. Even if it's a 30-day, like a net 30, I'm not getting paid in 30 days. So, and a lot of them I do, if they're not set up with like ePay Manager or Triumph Pay, and I'll cover those in more detail in a future video, but if they're not set up with one of those, I normally do have to email their accounts payable department. So that would be another difference. If you're used to having the same exact workflow, whenever you deliver a load, you transflow in the paperwork after you get signatures. Well, getting the signatures will be the same, but you're dealing with multiple AP departments at any different brokerage you work with. You're gonna have to have a certain email to send that stuff into, and some of the bigger ones, they've got like a dedicated portal or app. You know, it's built into their app. So the best way to think about how much money you would, like if you're not wanting to factor, if you figure out how much revenue your truck does in a month, that's the additional money you would need. And actually, I'd probably extend that out. I'd say I'd go 35 days just to be safe. So if your truck generates $30,000 in a month in revenue, and you are not going to factor, well, that first 30 days, you're not going to see a single dollar, but you're still spending all the money on fuel breakdowns, if you have a truck payment or trailer payment, insurance payments, all the other expenses, you still have all that. So you need
about 10 miles
at least an extra month's worth of whatever your revenue is, kind of just as an extra cushion on top of your normal maintenance. You know, I'm assuming everybody keeps some cash for maintenance. And maybe your revenue, you don't want to estimate 30,000, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 40, whatever it is. It fluctuates, so you're kind of ballparking it there. And the fuel and the tire discounts, yeah, I mean, you do benefit from that buying power, but from what I've found, I've been able to get some pretty good fuel discounts. And I use 3 different cards. I'll do a different video on fuel cards. I use 10-4 app by Wex. I just started using that one. I use Mudflap. Both of those are kind of my new backups, and I use the Expediter ES Advantage card as my primary fuel card. And I always check and compare. And there's other fuel cards out there, but there's a lot of really bad fuel cards too. So I'm trying to think of other administrative stuff that would be different. I set up a spreadsheet. It's like a master compliance list, and it's got a formula where it just has today's date at the very top, and then all these other things in the spreadsheet calculate against that date. So it kind of moves things up that are coming due. So the closer to the top they are, the sooner they're due. And then once I do something, I just change the date to the next time that one's going to be due. That's kind of how I organize things. And I've just started automating some of the, like, carrier packets is another. That's a one-time thing you do when you first work with a new broker or shipper or whoever. And I haven't automated that part of it. There's 4 different ways you can do those. Those are going through Highway, RMIS, My Carrier Packet, or they'll just have a PDF broker carrier agreement for you to fill out. What I've automated is the rate confirmations coming in. So whenever I get a rate confirmation, I've got an app script that will, and it uses not a lot, so it goes in, and I've got it set to, it'll only look in a starred email, so I use Gmail, and if there's a star in that email, or if that's like pinned to the top, then then it'll look in those emails, it'll find the most recent rate confirmation, which I always keep them starred while I'm hauling the load. So a broker will email me a rate confirmation, I'll star it, and I used Claude, Anthropic's AI, to write a lot of this code, but it wanted to just monitor my email, and I changed it to where there's a checkbox in my load spreadsheet, and so I'll go and I'll check that box off, and it'll go check my email then, and it'll just look in the starred emails, and it'll find a rate confirmation. It'll pull everything I need off of that rate confirmation and put it into the spreadsheet for me, and it'll even grab like pickup numbers. It'll add those to a separate sheet, stuff that's less important, but it'll get like pickup contact information for shippers and receivers. If there's a phone number, it'll add those, so I can, it saves a lot of time having to go back and forth and add stuff to a spreadsheet. One other thing I'm going to automate soon is the accounts payable emails. I'm not going to have the AI send any emails, but I'm going to have it send me an email just whenever there's a payment coming due, so I know to check on that. Because I've let some of them go. Like I just caught one recently that was 7 days past due, and I hadn't contacted them. And as soon as I emailed them, they send me a thing that says the ACH has been transferred, or it's sent today. So some of them are just waiting on you to check in with them before they pay you. If you've been a company driver and been getting dispatched, I think it's probably a smarter route to lease on somewhere and just kind of learn. I mean, you can watch how they operate and kind of figure out how you can do things better and more efficiently. And the percentage they're taking, like, so it includes all of those things I talked about, but you're buying those departments of people that are taking care of that stuff for you. If you look at the like, some of them are publicly traded, so you can pull their financials, you can listen to conference calls and everything. The profitability of these companies, I mean, they're not making a ton of money on their margins are terrible. A lot of them, I think if you look at Schneider and Landstar, they're like between 2 and 5%. So, okay, maybe they're taking, maybe the big number that you look at is 35%, but then you look at all the extra stuff that's included with that, it gets down to around 15 or 17%. And then if you look at all the money they spend to offer you those services on salaries and wages of people that are performing all those functions for you, their margins are down in the 2 to 5% range. And those margins include the profits or the revenue that's coming in from their brokerage side. So all of them operate, they've got brokerages where they're making money, and that brokerage income, I'd imagine recently, it's got a higher margin than the trucking side. So the trucking side, which you would be included in the trucking side, is actually lower margin. It's actually pulling their margins down, even closer to zero. And some of them have taken losses recently. A lot of them have taken losses recently, but some of it's financial engineering. I don't know. I kind of picture a bunch of people sitting around offices, spending money, wasting money, going to safety meetings, and can you do those things yourself more efficiently? I would say probably so. Or for me, yes, I think so. Especially with the help of, the AI stuff and everything these days, it's much easier to automate things. Really, the only downside of leasing on is the percentage they're taking and additional corporate rules that they create that go beyond the normal regulations that we all have to, play by. And there's other benefits of getting your authority, growth opportunities. I mean, like, you can haul everybody's freight when you get your authority. Landstar used to have a thing where if you were a former BCO and you've got your authority, they would immediately let you become an approved carrier. So
for about 18 miles, continue straight.
That's one thing to check with them on. If you're about ready to get your authority, ask them if you can become an approved carrier with your authority, or do you have to wait 6 months? Both Mercer and Bennett, I don't know what Schneider, I'm not in the dry van world really anymore, or reefer, so I'm not familiar with their rules on that stuff, but check with them and see if you can become an approved carrier immediately from day one instead of waiting 6 months at those two specifically. Landstar is 12 months, unless they just don't like me. But I'm not trusting Landstar corporate. I've called multiple agents and talked to them. They said it's 12 months. They used to be different, but for some reason it changed. But a couple other things real quick. Benefits to having the authority is the ability, like I said, to work with anybody, but you also have the ability to get your own direct customers, which I have not done yet, but it's something that's available. And you have the ability in the future, it doesn't make any sense for me to do it right now, but leasing on owner-operators. So, I don't know, maybe 2 years down the road, if I could come up with some kind of structure that beats what these other carriers are offering, then I could lease on owner-operators. And so that's another kind of growth opportunity as a motor carrier. And it's just, it's really the only way to have true freedom. If you're using their trailer, they're going to want the trailer to keep moving. If you have your own trailer, well, they're still forking out insurance money, so they don't want you to just be idle forever. But if I want to, I can go home and I can take 3 months off and not even, really no boss at all other than the government. And one more difference, and I'll shut up, but one more thing I just thought of is negotiations. If you're at Landstar, you're probably used to negotiating on the loads a little bit, but probably not all of them. I would say with your authority, there's a lot more, like almost every load you're negotiating on. They'll add money, $200, $400, $600 to a load without even pushing back on it. I've had, I think the most I've ever had them at is $1,500 on one load, but that was kind of a special circumstance. But yeah, they kind of expect you to negotiate. They're putting out a lowball price into the DAT or truck stop board, the ones that have the posted rate on there. I had one of them that, it was over $3 a mile. I thought it was paying fair. I didn't even try to negotiate. I just told them I'd take it, and they negotiated for me. They said, well, you do have over 100 miles of deadhead. Are you okay with this rate, or do you need a little more? So just keep that in mind. All the rates you see, they're not, most of the rates you see on DAT or truck stop, those aren't the rates people are hauling them for. There's, the agreed on price is always going to be higher than that. Or most of the time it'll be higher than that. Like, the load I'm on right now started at, this is the second time I've hauled the same lane for the broker, but it was 2,000 the first time. They came up to 2280. This was before fuel went up. And then this time it was 2280 again, and I didn't even respond back. And then he responded back and said, oh, sorry, I was looking at older rates, 2,500. And I said, well, to do this on a regular basis, it had to be 2,850, would kind of be the minimum, but I can help you out at 25. And I just sent him a screenshot of the fuel prices at the closest truck stop. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. And he came up with an extra $100. And this is either the third or anyways, I'm planning on doing several videos just on the process of getting your authority here pretty soon. So if there's any specific questions you have, drop in the comments and I'll try to go over it in detail in one of the videos. But other than that, y'all take care, stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next video.